Alright guys, so I'm finally doing the 5950X, my experiences slash my review slash is the CPU right for you video. Now, just to get you guys up to speed, I've already done one of these for the 5900X that I got, and or the 6900 XT, and I've already done one of these for my experiences building my first PC, and this video you're watching in the background is actually me building the PC, and this was the first PC I ever built. This was also my first AMD CPU, and it was also my first AMD graphics card that ended up going in this PC. Initially, I just threw the 1080 Ti from my old build into this PC because it was during the whole, you know, graphics card debacle that is still stabilizing to this day. But I just wanted to go over my experiences and stuff. Before we go into that, though, I think it's important to establish where I came from as far as hardware, because everybody's experience is going to be different depending on what you had prior, right? So if you're running like a 3950X or a 9900K or something that's perfectly capable of doing a lot of stuff still to this day, then your experience is going to be vastly different if you're thinking about upgrading to this, or you already have and you're waiting for it to come in the mail or whatever. It's going to be vastly different than my experience. So I came from an i7-7700K, which is 4 cores, 8 threads, paired with the 1080 Ti. So it was a good build. It was a good build. It lasted me 5 years, but it was dying. Everything was going wrong with it. Screens were screens were getting locked, black screened, and the PC would just freeze randomly. It would just crash randomly. All of my peripherals would just randomly disconnect. Like, it was having a lot of issues, and I was going into content creation, and I think that's really what sparked it, because I was putting it under a lot of stress. Now, I apologize if I start branching off here, because sometimes when I get talking about this stuff, I kind of all over the place, but I'm gonna try and stay on target here. So I started with the 7700K, and for gaming to this day, I still believe that it's perfectly capable of gaming. More for 1440p gaming, because there's less stress on the CPU. If you're 1080p gaming, then it's gonna be struggling to keep up with your graphics card. But I think it's still perfectly capable. Now, the issues arose when I started content creating, because 4 cores, man, they getting used up for the game, right? Now you're trying to run, you know, your Twitch and your OBS and your Chad Reno, and then you're trying to edit and DaVinci Resolve, and it's going whoa, 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 I ain't designed for this. And then you finally get through the rendering process, and then you hit that render button, and then it goes whoop, we are at 100% usage, pipes are exploding, everything is catching on fire. Do not touch anything on the computer, because that bad boy gonna crash if you try to do anything else, or it's gonna run at negative 9,000 speed, dude. Like, it is locked up. Okay, so the problems really arose when I started to go into content creation. Now, with the new build, first of all, putting it all together, everything went fine. I'm not going to go too much into the build because I already did a video on that, but everything went fine. I had no issues when I hit the power button for the first time. Bada bing, bada boom. The bad boy turned on, put Windows in there, no issues at all. Now, we jump forward, you know, a little while. You know, I had some, let's call it, user errors and learning experiences with overclocking, because this was the first time I've ever overclocked anything. I first did my GPU, did some minor overclocking with that. That was very simple. You know, not too complicated. Granted, I didn't do any crazy overclocks, you know, but going into the CPU was much more, you know, if it's not stable, the whole PC is shut down, and then you got to start over type deal. And that was a learning experience, and I ended up getting a pretty, you know, a stable overclock. But the thing was, is it was in Modern Warfare. When I would game and encode while playing Modern Warfare, I'd be locked at 4.6 megahertz or 4.6 gigahertz. And I was like, man, you know I can get out of, you know, more out of this. Okay, we're getting off track. Now I'm going into the overclocking stuff. Okay, and that's see, we're spouting out. Okay, let's get focused here. Okay, basically, I ended up learning to just put it on auto through, I have an Asus motherboard, so Asus AI Tweaker. I just put everything on auto for PBO and single core boost or whatever it's called. Bada bing, bada boom, and I'm getting almost 5.1 gigahertz when gaming, which is awesome, and I'm getting higher clocks when using a ton of cores, so my multi-core clocks went up as well. Granted, we're getting more heat, but the thing is even on the box, you know, it says 4.9 max boost on the box. I don't know if you guys can read that, but even without the overclock, I was hitting 5, which is pretty, you know, that's pretty stinking awesome. When you're not even overclocking, and you're getting a higher boost, max boost, than what's guaranteed by the manufacturer. But dang, I already went off on all this stuff. So content creation with the 5950X, massive difference from the 7700K. 7700K, 4 cores, 8 threads. Honestly, yeah, you can game on it today, but you're gonna be struggling if you want to do extra tasks on top of that. Like if you have extra monitors, like I have 3 monitors, so when I'm just chilling out, you know, I'll have a stream up on one monitor and I'll be gaming on another. Maybe I'll have, you know, my YouTube open over here uploading something or whatnot. And with 4 cores, just having a stream on one monitor and gaming, you know, it's hard to say because my computer was dying when I started content creating, so I had a really rough experience. I think if it was more near its prime, then it would have been less rocky experience. But with the 5550X, that thing just, man, when I loaded up DaVinci Resolve is what I used to do my editing and my rendering, and with the 7700K, it was a complete no-go. Everything was so slow, and when you would hit that render button after you were done slogging through the editing process, you could not do anything. That computer was 100% dedicated to rendering whatever video you're trying to render, dude. That's those 4 cores were melting, pipes were busting, fire was flying everywhere. It was complete chaos. All the alarms were going off. It was like Chernobyl up in there. Okay, now we jump over the 5950X, dude. You pop up DaVinci Resolve on one monitor, you can have a stream open on the other, you could be uploading on the other, dude, rendering while doing whatever on the other monitors, no problem. Yeah, your temps are gonna go up because you're using a lot of cores, but it is an absolutely insane experience going from 4 cores to 16 cores. Okay, that was a ginormous generational jump. So if you're coming from like a 9900K or a 10900K or whatever that's has a decent amount of cores, then you know your experience isn't going to be as drastic as mine. You know, my PC was at the end of its life. I had used it for 5 faithful years, but that boy, you know, he was just, bruh, Dad, bruh, please, just let me rest. It's time for me to retire, dude. That's what he was saying, and I was saying, boy, let's go. It's time to fire on all cylinders and go at 1,000%. Okay. Now, with the 5950X, my intent was to encode everything as far as encoding my stream on Twitch and encoding my recordings for YouTube. Now, the 5950X can do that no problem at the slow preset. Now, if you don't know, I'm not going to go into it too much, but the slower you have the CPU encoder set at, the better quality you have. I think it starts at like super fast, and then it goes fastest, faster, fast, medium, slow, and then slower, and then slowest, or something like that. So slow is pretty insane. Now you can encode with it, but you're gonna hit 90% usage if you're doing a recording with a high bitrate, which is what I do when I am doing stuff for YouTube. For Twitch, it's, you know, you're capped out at a much lower bitrate, so you can run slow all you want on either one. But when you're doing for YouTube, you're gonna hit 90%, depending on what games you're playing. On Twitch, you know, you're gonna be sitting at 67%, 70%, just chilling, doing whatever. Now, after messing around with a bunch of stuff, I encode my Twitch streams on the medium preset with my CPU, and then I use my 6900 XT to encode my stuff for YouTube, because for YouTube I can set the bitrate insanely higher than Twitch, and so the 6900 XT, I get a clear image. The thing is, the 6900 XT encoder works totally fine if you're just going to record stuff, because you can set the bitrate so high that it doesn't even matter. Now, if you're going to encode your stream, at least for Twitch, because it's such a low bitrate, that is when you're going to see the massive difference between the NVIDIA encoder and AMD's Radeon encoder. And it's rough. I ain't even gonna lie. I would not, if I had the intent to encode my Twitch streams with the graphics card, I would have gotten an NVIDIA graphics card 1000%, no questions asked. But I had the full intent of using the 5950X to encode everything. That's why I went for the 16 cores. I was initially going to go for the 5900X, which has 12 cores. And then at the last second, I was like, you know, I'm probably going to use this PC for a very long time. I used my last one, which was the Alienware Aurora R6. It was a pre-built, and it was a furnace. It was a little box furnace, one intake fan, one exit fan on one exit fan on the top with a 120 millimeter radiator to cool the CPU, and that 4-core CPU would still hit almost 80 degrees in there. Like it, yeah. But that we're getting off subject. So, but basically, you know, it was like, hey, I'm gonna use this thing forever, and I'm gonna be doing a lot more heavy work with this guy, especially as time goes on. So why not get the extra 4 cores? Yeah, it's a pretty big money difference between the 5900X and 5950X, but you know, might as well. So I made the jump. Am I happy with it? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now here's what you have to remember though. If you're just going to play games, then the 5950X is a giant waste of money. Because games, to my understanding, games only use, 2 cores, 4 cores, 6 cores. I honestly think that Modern Warfare might use 8 cores because I can hit 40% CPU usage on Modern Warfare. And that's the highest I've seen for just playing a game. Now, if you're going to be, well, let's stay on that for a second. So if you're just going to play a game, you're perfectly fine with the 5600X, which is 6 cores, 12 threads. Totally fine. Now, if you're wanting to play a game and you have multiple monitors and you want, a Twitch up so you can watch, or somebody stream up, or YouTube up on the second monitor, then maybe you want the 5800X for the 8 cores just to be comfortable. Honestly, 5900X is really really a lot of CPU for just gaming. A lot of CPU for just gaming. That's almost like But if you're going into content creation, then 5900X, that's the sweet spot. Now, if you're doing like crazy stuff, like stuff that I don't even know about, then you already know that you're gonna get the 5950X, right? If you're doing like crazy 4K rendering and all that stuff, 5950X, hey, throw it in the cart, get it, you'll be happy. Thing's amazing. It does everything I needed to do, and I don't even do that crazy stuff. I just moved up to 1440p rendering and stuff. Does amazing. But if you're planning on getting an NVIDIA graphics card and encoding, then the 5900X is the highest I would go personally. Because you just do 12 cores is more than enough. But you know what? Hey, here's the thing. At the end of the day, you gotta buy what's gonna make you happy. Even if you're just gaming, hey, it's your money. If don't go and buy a 5600X because somebody says, hey, that's all you need for gaming, and then 2 weeks later you're like, bro, like I should have just got that 16 core thing. Like I wanted that 16 core. Just buy it if you want to. Buy what makes you happy, dude. If you're like, bro, if I don't get the 16 cores, then I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna go, bro, why didn't I get that? And then 3 months later, I'm just gonna sell this and then I'm gonna buy, just buy it in the first place. Get whatever makes you happy. Did it make me happy? Absolutely. Does it do everything I needed to do? Absolutely. Does it get hot? Boy, if I didn't have a 360 millimeter radiator and how many fans? 7 fans in there. Holy moly spagolis, boy. That thing would be cooking. Okay, that you need to be prepared. I have a pretty big case. I have the Corsair, what is it? Corsair Airflow 5000D, white version. And it's a pretty big case. I saw that it was a mid tower and I was like, oh, that's the same as my Aurora. My Aurora, dude, that thing is a little compared to this thing. I got the box and I was like, holy manoli spagolis, this thing is big, dude. This thing takes up a lot of space, but we're getting off. We're we're bouncing off here. But yes, at the end of the day, just get what's gonna make you happy, man. If that's what you want and you're just gonna game on it and you're just get it. Hey, if you just sit at 20% usage as the max usage you ever use, hey, screw it. You're still gonna get those high clock speeds, man. I almost hit 5.1 gigahertz with the overclock, which is pretty insane, and I can hold 5 gigahertz just gaming. If I'm like rendering stuff, then the more cores I use, the lower the clocks go to keep stability, but yeah, the thing rips, man. The thing rips. at the end of the day, it is amazing for content creation, and it's amazing for multitasking, and it's amazing for gaming. It'll do everything you want and more. You can throw whatever at it, and it's gonna say, bruh, I still got 5 trillion cores ready to go. Come on. Bring it on, bruh. Bring it on. Okay? But you have to keep in mind that I came from a 4-core 8-thread processor 5 years ago. Okay, it's a 5-year-old 7700K, right? So you have to keep that in mind. But on that, we're going to go ahead and end this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Alrighty, boys, I am out.